Hello and welcome back to Minecraft Minuet. Today is our first episode in which we are going to have a speaking topic. I'm very excited because this week's speaking topic is something that um, I think it confused me when I was a kid. It still confuses me a little bit now, but it's basically the difference between artistic ability and creative ability. Now, you would think yes, those are two different words, and therefore they should have two different meanings. But I think a lot of people, not just me, get them a little bit confused. And so today we're going to be talking about the difference between artistic and creative ability. But I also want to talk about a little bit, of how having creative or artistic ability, which I think they're mutually exclusive, and yes, they actually are, is maybe a little detrimental to how we live our lives. And there is a little bit of psychology and psychoanalytics that go into that. So definitely something that I want to talk about and broach during today's speaking session. The other thing that we're going to do today is, as you can see, I have a ton of building blocks in my inventory. I would like to go ahead and finally get together a villager trading station for myself. Mostly I'm going to be using it for getting special books so that I can make special tools. If I were ever to fall in lava, then I would need to get all of my tools again. And it's a lot easier to get all of our tools from, enchanting them with books than trying to enchant them on a crafting table. So what I'm going to do is get a bunch of librarians, and then that way if I ever need to do something else or get new tools, or if I just want to build new tools that are more specific for something that I'm working on, then I'll be able to do that fairly easily by just going to see my trading villagers and grabbing my stuff from them. But the first things first, I'm going to catch up my new llamas, which I got right before I started recording today. Anytime I have a wandering villager, I try to get his llamas. These two are mine now. I don't kill the trading villager or wandering villager very often. I don't have to. Usually what I'll do is, if he appears near my house, super easy. All I do is trap him inside and then slowly push him deeper and deeper down into the cave until the leads break. And then I collect the leads, tame the llamas, and presto changeo, I have new llamas. So as you can see, I have quite a collection of llamas from wandering traders. I had two other ones that I also had in my stables here. What is that? Where is that coming from? I'm not doing this again. This is how the last episode started, but this is really annoying. Ah, here we are. But what happened to the other llamas is they wound up despawning because I didn't realize. There's a lot of things I don't know about Minecraft, but I didn't realize that if you don't tame an animal, even like a llama from a wandering trader, if you don't tame it, meaning sit on it until it shows hearts, then it will actually despawn even if you have it in a fenced-in area that is less than 14 by 14, which I didn't think was possible and was actually pretty mad about it when I figured it out. So I think I lost 2 sets of llamas that way because I just honestly didn't know that they would despawn like that. So my bad. But now that I know that, I've been taming all of the llamas and I haven't really had that problem again. So eventually I will have an army an army of llamas, I'm assuming, because wandering traders show up all the time and I almost always try to steal their llamas. Eventually I'm going to use them as the pack animals that they were designed to be, and when I go exploring for things, then I will have a way to carry extra chests, which is great. I usually just let these guys despawn. I don't hit them or anything or do anything with them. They don't really have good trades anyway, so I just leave them alone. I don't really have a purpose for them at all. But let's go downstairs. While we're down here, let's take a look at what we did last time we were on the game. I did go ahead and complete the floors, which you'll see in a second, but I also did some work here on the staircase. Switched out the cobblestone stairs for stone stairs, got some smooth stone, and made arches over all the entranceways, and then installed some redstone lamps just to provide light. And as you can see, if we look here, our client light is currently at 10, meaning that there shouldn't be anything spawning on our staircase here. It goes down to 9 every once in a while, but pretty much is great as far as light goes. There shouldn't be any mobs spawning on the stairs. There is a little bit of a cutout in the wall here. Eventually it's going to be something really cool if it works out. If not, then I will fill it back up with some stone and it'll be fine. I still haven't decided what to do with this little cutout here where the slimes keep spawning, but we might get rid of it because I realized that now that the pit's a little bit deeper, it also spawns slime, so it might be a moot point anyways. I did go ahead and, like I said, the smooth stone on all of the archways throughout the base, and then we set up some, some armor stands with some really shiny, pretty armor on it. This is all armor I've collected from killing zombies and skeletons, so no cost to me. And although it has some pretty cool enchantments on it, it is made of gold, so not very useful. But as you can see, the floors are finished. I think they look pretty decent. And then I went ahead and put the stone brick in the walls here, and I think these are stone pillars. I just using them to break up the pattern a little bit because I didn't want the walls to be just continuously all the same. And then in the ceiling, I kept it stone, and then added a little bit of recessed lighting with the glowstone. And then if we come down here, I was starting to do the floor in here and realized that the room's not quite even on both sides, but that's okay. I'm not too worried about it. I will eventually fix the lighting in here. There are a few spawnable spots in the corners, I think, especially over here where this bank is because there's not the lights up top. But eventually I will get that fixed up. And then it continues all the way back to where the room for the nether is. So yeah, that's basically what I did after or behind the scenes after last episode. And now we're going to head over to the village and see about our villager breeder and also our marketplace so that we can go ahead and get some really nifty books. Okay, I'm back. I went ahead and collected even some more blocks because, well, we're in our little village. This is the closest village that spawned next to my house. My house is right behind me on the other side of this hill over here. And this village, I made the mistake of like the first few times that I ran through it and, looted it and stuff. I didn't realize it was really the only village close to where I live. So I didn't really trap any of the villagers like I'm supposed to. And most of them died. Since then, I've gone ahead and trapped the few villagers that are remaining. There was a whole debacle where I had my villagers trapped, but I didn't secure them properly with half slabs, and a zombie got in and, turn them to zombies. But since then, I've learned my lesson, learning as I go kind of thing. And I currently have these 5 villagers, and in that house over there, I have another one. So the whole idea is that this is going to be where I breed villagers when I need more villagers. And then, let's go back out here and lock them up so they don't get out. They're going to kind of fall through the floor here. I'm going to trap 2 of them, obviously, over some beds so that they can't go anywhere. And then when they spawn a baby, it'll fall down here and hopefully not get too hurt. And there'll be another block here. Once it's fallen down here and there's a few that I can choose from, I'll set up a minecart to where I can grab one of them. And then in this general area over here is where our trading is going to be. So I'm going to do a quick time lapse of clearing out this area and kind of setting it up as flat land. And then I will describe how I'm going to do my actual, um, you know, trading hall. I looked up a really quick tutorial online. It's really simple. I know there's a bunch of ways to do it, but this one was a pretty common way where it's just they're in little cells basically. And, it seemed very efficient and easy considering that this might be the worst decision I've ever made. Villagers tend to be very hard to corral and work with. So, like I said, I'm just going to fill in all this area and make it nice and flat and level with the bottom of the house over there. And then I'll be right back. While we're starting this, we can go ahead and start speaking about our topic for today. We're going to start off with just some basic definitions of artistic ability and creative ability. These are, if you go online and you type in the words, then you get these definitions. So the internet says that the artistic ability is skills and talent used to create fine art. And I would classify the people who have artistic ability as artists. These are a little different than, I guess you would say, musicians and, people who do other types of artistic endeavors, because it doesn't actually list music as a fine art, even though I would think that it would be. And then there's other talents and things like that that also don't fall under artistic ability, but have finesse to them. And then creative ability is listed as skills and talent that a person has that allows them to use imagination to create or solve problems that are useful. I don't know if I would add in that last part because I don't know if creativity always has to be useful, but that's how they put it online as the definition. When I think of someone who's being creative, I think of inventors, someone who's making something new to be used, by people in a certain way. I don't necessarily think of fine arts when I think of creative, but I also think that sometimes you can be creative and be an artist at the same time. So I also think these are a little different than what people think of when they think of innovative ability. And that's someone who can take something that's old and modify it to a way that makes it more useful or better in some way. So someone who's an innovator is not necessarily someone who's creating new things or someone who's using their imagination to do art. It's someone who's doing, something for a business maybe, where they're innovating something and changing it to make it a little bit better. So these are the definitions we're going to kind of be focusing on today, the artistic ability one and the creative ability one. I'm going to talk about why they're a little confusing in my mind, and how often they overlap, and how often people confuse them and then ask things of you that you are unable to do if you have one or even both of these. Though if you have both of them, kudos to you for sure. But I'm going to go ahead and explain how the villager farm works, and then we can start working on that and we'll get back to this. While I was clearing the area, I did go ahead and mark off these little sections here where the corners of our fully completed villager trading are going to be. Oops, I lost one. 1 second. It's going to be right about here. Just a grass block, but it'll work. But basically the design's really simple. You make some planks, because I don't have any. And then you basically just build up a little bit of a slot for each of the villagers to go in. So it's 1, 2, 3, and then I need a staircase. 1, 2, 3. And then you give them one little space to be in. And then you build up the next wall for the next villager. So, oops. So let's see here. he would get that much space. Each villager gets this little tiny space to be in. And then you're supposed to put a block over their head, and then there will be their little table here, and then a half slab to keep zombies out. Now, I think, because I'm such an expert at Minecraft, no, not really, but I do think that I want to add one more layer up here, just because I want to put a light source in here to make sure nothing spawns in there. One person suggested putting water at the bottom here to keep mobs from spawning, maybe, but I think I'm just going to use a torch because I think it's just a little bit easier, and I don't know about having a bunch of water in case a creeper comes by and explodes this that I have to try to put back together. So I'm just going to do this, but I do need this removed because eventually what's going to happen is I'm going to come up here and basically drop them into this hole here at the top. Now, I'm going to be dropping my villagers quite a bit, so hopefully the drop from that floor over there and then the drop over here doesn't really cause them too much damage. Because if it does, that might be a little bit of an issue, but we will see. So we're going to go ahead and put the half slabs on as well. And then when they fall down, they'll be trapped, I think. Oh, I may have ruined the design by putting another block on top. Let's see. Yeah, because things can get in there. Okay, never mind. We're going to follow the design that the person had exactly. Forget what I said. We're going to put water in it, and then that way I don't have to worry about it. All of my villagers dying for no reason. So let's go here. Take this back down. And then he just had that there like that. And that way you can see them, but kind of nothing else. So we'll have to get rid of the torch, and I guess we will have to have just water down there. Oh, great. I trapped myself. Okay. So there we go. So that's what it's going to look like. It's not very pretty right now, obviously. We might beautify this area later, but for right this second, it's all about utility, and I really don't care how it looks. I don't know if I'll ever come over here for any other reason besides just getting stuff from the villagers. So for me, it doesn't really make sense to spend a whole lot of time making it super pretty. So I'm going to continue doing this, and we can go ahead and continue talking about creativity and artistic ability. And that way, I will show you the whole build up here, and then explain how I'm going to trap my villagers and things like that. But that part I will speed up because it's going to take quite a bit of time. The first thing I want to talk about on our topic is where the lines get a little blurry for me when I start thinking about creative versus artistic ability. When I think of myself as a person, I would normally describe myself as both mildly creative and mildly artistic. I'm definitely not, Picasso or Rembrandt or anything like that. And I'm definitely not someone who's going to rewrite the system as far as being super ultra creative. The ways that I'm artistic is that if you were to hand me a reference photo and told me to sit down and copy it and gave me enough, things to do that. Ugh, I didn't mean to craft that, but okay, whatever. If you were to give me an art piece, like a photo or maybe even someone else's realistic looking art, I might be able to do a fair recreation of it, but it's not going to be anything spectacular. And it's not going to be anything original. It's going to be a copy. Is it going to be a fairly decent copy? I like to think so. But it's, like I said, it's not super creative. It just I have a tiny bit of artistic ability, I would say. Now, I do have some friends and family who are wildly artistic and creative. They can think of something off the top of their head. They take a reference photo and they make it theirs. Like, they can take something that is, a few reference photos, a few things here and there, and they can make that into something that's their own. that's not something that I'm capable of doing without a whole lot of struggle. So that's why I say I'm mildly creative, mildly artistic. And I think everyone kind of falls into that category, which is great. Everybody should have just a little bit of artsy fartsy in them, I think. Um, but where it gets a little blurry for me is that when I'm talking about art, um, what you would call abstract art, or art that doesn't have any concept behind it, where you just given a blank canvas and you're told ready, set, go. I can do abstract art all day. I could take a paintbrush and slash it on a canvas 100 times and make abstract art. Is that necessarily creative or artistic? Is it fine art or is it not? And does it really matter if it's true art, if it's expressing myself creatively? This is where it gets a little blurry for me, and I'm not quite sure, you know, where to draw the line as to what is creative and what isn't, and what is artistic and what isn't. So when I'm talking and thinking to myself, am I artistic? Normally I would say mildly, but if you were to take into account that I do like to do abstract art and it looks decent to me when it's done. I have a few pieces that I've done in the past that I actually really adore, and they're hanging up on my walls in my room. I love them. And I think, to me personally, art is just anything that you can enjoy. But I guess that would make it so that it's not creative, because in our definitions that we looked up online, it said that creative ability is skills and talent to use the imagination to create or solve problems, and it is useful. I don't think that anything that I do is super useful, except for maybe my own decorative abilities for my room. Um, and then as far as for artistic ability, it's just as skills and talent used to create fine art, or someone who's classified as an artist. I don't think that the abstract art that I do is considered fine art, and neither is it considered, it doesn't make me an artist if I occasionally do a piece of abstract art. And then you have those people that are true artists. They make money off their art. But it doesn't fall under fine art either. It's the wrong medium, like they're using everyday objects, or maybe it's musical talent and things like that that don't actually have anything to do with fine arts. But I would still classify those people as extremely creative and extremely artistic. I think one of the things that annoys me most about this topic, as far as the two juxtaposed against each other, is that I don't know if it's people that aren't artistic or aren't creative or aren't as artistic or creative. I don't know. But a lot of people assume that if you're artistic, you're creative, and if you're creative, you're artistic. And that is not true. There's separate definitions, but also, if you think about it, a creative person is someone who's really good at solving problems and really good at making things work for them. It can be applied in a bunch of different ways. It's useful. It has a bunch of different uses. Whereas someone who's artistic, they're doing it because they have a drive to do it. It's applicable to what they're interested in, and it's not necessarily something that can be applied to a bunch of different things. Um, Although it can be. I mean, if you're artistic, you're thinking in a different way than other people, so it definitely gives a new perspective on things. I just don't think that it's necessarily going to be super useful, let's say, in a workplace. A creative person who's really great at solving problems is going to flourish in a workplace. They're going to be able to solve those problems fairly easily and get through their life. Whereas if you took someone who's purely artistic and they really know how to paint and they're really, really good at it, and you told them to solve problems in the workplace, I think that they would have a really hard time doing that, especially if their workplace is somewhere that has very strict rules already. Um, you're asking them to not only step out of their comfort zone into something that's a little bit more difficult for them, maybe mentally, but you're also asking them to do something that doesn't come naturally to them. But because a lot of people think that, artistic ability and creative ability are the same thing, they say things like, "Oh, well, you do art, you're super creative, you'll figure it out." Well, no, you're putting tremendous pressure on somebody who doesn't necessarily have that skill set, and you're making their life basically miserable because you honestly think that they're able to do something that they're not. Um, and I think that's my biggest pet peeve is when people say things like that, where they say, you're super artistic, you'll get it, or you're super creative, you'll get it. You do art, you should understand how to do this. Or you should be able to apply your artistic ability to anything. That's not necessarily true. Well, this looks a little funny. I have a really nice corner on this side, and this side over here looks like trash. Well, give me a second while I redo this. The next thing I want to talk about is kind of getting into the burdens of having either one of these abilities, and what it does to you throughout your lifetime. So the first thing being, developmentally, it has been proven that children who are extremely artistic or extremely creative tend to do a little worse in school and have different developmental strengths than children that are, more analytical or not necessarily less creative, but just think in a different way. So, some of the better examples of this are, of course, Einstein, um, Mozart, and Bach. All three of these people, they're extremely creative, wildly artistic, creative in Einstein's case, and artistic and creative in both Bach and Mozart's case, but they all did horribly in school. And part of that is that they just think differently than other students. And for all three of them, the people around them didn't know how to react to the way that they were thinking. And so they treated them as students as if they had a mental disorder instead of just having the ability to think in a different way. There was a really great article that I read while researching for this video. It's called The Burdens of Talent, and it's by Elena Romanovsky. She's a psychiatrist who did a lot of research into famous characters in history and how they became famous as far as their artistic and creative talent goes and what troubles they faced in early life. And it was a really interesting read, and I definitely recommend it to anyone who's watching this. Go ahead and look it up. It's not a free source article online. You do have to pay for access, but it's worth the read if you can find it anywhere free. And basically, she went on to say that, it wasn't that the people that she was talking about in her article couldn't understand what was being taught. It's that the people who were teaching them couldn't understand them or couldn't understand how they were expressing themselves and how to get them to participate fully in classes where their talents didn't lie. If I take a personal example from this, when going through school, I was dreadful at math. Really bad at math as far as my grades went. I could do sort of okay on the homework, but then when it came to actually doing exams where they wanted me to show my work, and this became really evident in college, I did miserably. I couldn't get the right answers to save my life, and I just didn't make good grades because of it. And I think it wasn't necessarily that I didn't understand the math or that I couldn't do the math. I think my mind works a little differently for math. Because if you look at any of my exams, if you look at any of my homework, you can see very easily that I was able to get the correct answer. Probably 70 or 80% of the time, even without work or the work that the teachers wanted me to provide, I was able to give the correct answer. But I wasn't necessarily able to give the work that they wanted. I think it's just because my mind works differently in math than most people's. I don't go about things in the easy way of even like simple multiplication and division, adding and subtracting. I'll usually break the numbers up in funny ways or, multiply different numbers together first and then add them together versus trying to do the whole multiplication in my head. Makes things faster and easier for me, but it also muddles up my work as far as what I have to show on paper, and that made it so that I did really bad in math. To the point where I had to retake several classes, and it made me feel like a failure, and it made me feel really bad. And it stopped me from doing something that I wanted to do in college. I wanted to take engineering classes when I was in college for material sciences. I wound up not taking those classes, not because I didn't think I'd be good at the subject, but because I knew I was going to have to take Calc 3. And I didn't think I was capable of passing the class, so I didn't. I regret doing that. I think I would have been very, very good at material sciences. I think that I had a really good interest in the subject, and it would have been great for me. But because of the way things were taught to me and the way that I understood my abilities because of it, I didn't take the class. And I think that happens to a lot of people who think a little bit differently, are creative or are artistic. The next thing I wanted to talk about is kind of the burden that being artistic or creative puts on personal relationships. When talking about personal relationships, once someone finds out that you have artistic ability or creative ability, I think it can put a little bit of a strain on any relationship, because a lot of times people assume that I don't know what, not everybody, obviously not everyone does this, but I think a lot of people assume that if you're good at something and they're friends or family with you, then you'll use that something for them, or you'll do that thing for them. I think everyone comes across this, even people who are just really good at a certain job, or even just do a certain job. When I was a veterinary technician, all the time people would ask me, well, what do I feed my dog? What do I do about my dog's behavior? What do I, etc., etc., etc. And, a lot of times I don't mind answering those questions. It only takes a few minutes, but it does get annoying when I'm at the beach and someone approaches me and we start talking and I mention what I do, and all of a sudden it's all those questions. I don't necessarily want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about my work on my day off. I don't want to talk about my work at the beach. And I'm someone who loves animals, so talking about animals is never really an issue, but sometimes it does become annoying. Now imagine if it's something that you truly enjoy and it's only for you, like art. And now everyone assumes that you're going to do that for them just because they know you. Family assuming that you're going to do a portrait for them because you did one in the past. Maybe you were just experimenting with portraits and you don't actually like doing them, but because you did one, now it's assumed that anytime someone asks, you're going to do one. Or maybe you made a really, really nice painting for your mom for her living room, and all of a sudden now your aunt wants one. Well, you don't like your aunt. And she just assumes that she's going to get a painting from you. And because they're family, even though it might be art that's worth being paid for, they're not going to pay for it because they're family and they deserve things from you. So yeah, artistic ability can set you up for having a few problems in life. And it definitely can set you up to having a few strained relationships. So we are done with the building for now. And I am going to go ahead and show you how I'm going to get my villagers now. And that should only take just a second. So for this next part, I did go ahead and mute the villagers just because their voices can get a little bit annoying. All the grunting and the noises. But basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to isolate 2 of the villagers. And these will be my breeding villagers, and they're going to stay up in this building all the time. And I'm going to give them food, and, they're going to breed, and then, do whatever they got to do. And I'll just continuously keep giving them food, and they'll keep producing new villagers for me. I just got to clean out my inventory real quick because it's messy. Collected a bunch of stuff while I was clearing out the space for the trading thing. I also have to get rid of some of this so that I have room in my chest to do that. So I'm going to try to trade some of this away to my librarian that I have. So this is the type of villager that I'm going to be focusing on first when I get done building and loading my marketplace, because they're the ones that give me enchanted books, and those are what I'm going to use to fix my tools when necessary. So good, we got a few emeralds. We're going to do that again and get more space. If you don't play Minecraft, emeralds are basically the currency of Minecraft. As far as villagers go, they trade for other things, but to outright buy something, you need emeralds. And as you can see, my librarian here, he does have books for 25, 24, and 36 emeralds. So that's a pretty hefty price tag. And trading for things like paper so that I can get emeralds is how I'm going to build up enough to get the books that I want. Eventually, I will be turning all of my villagers into zombies on purpose this time so that I can get their trades down. But until then, I'm going to just have to have a ton of emeralds. Let's drop all of these guys down because they're getting a little bit annoying. Come here. One more. There you go. And that fall didn't seem to hurt anybody, which is great. So now just to get myself out of here. Yeah, that'll work. Hup, hup, ha, hup. There we go. Rebuild the floor a little bit so I'm not constantly falling down. And then I don't really know how safe it is down there currently. So let's go ahead and build up the floor really quickly so that I can go sleep. And then hopefully no one dies while I'm sleeping. And then we'll finish building this in the morning. I just don't want any zombies to get to them right now because then I have to heal them all before I even get started. Whoa! Sir! Come back here! He slept in this bed over here, and when he popped up in the wrong spot on the other side. Let's get rid of these beds. I don't need him doing that again. I don't want him to reach any of these beds. Let's get these out of here. So I do need, I think, one more bed because I think I need a space for the new villager to go every time. And so they need a bed within vicinity. So this is going to stay here for now. And that way when they get their little love hearts, they'll be able to produce a baby. And then we'll drop that baby through the floor. Okay, let's go grab some food for the villagers and you'll see how to breed them real quick. So you can use bread or basically anything. Basically what you're trying to do is villagers have so many holding spots that they can hold food in, and you're trying to fill up those spaces so that they then swap food back and forth. And once they swap food back and forth, that's when they get their little red hearts, and hopefully we can get some. I might not have enough food yet. Let's go grab some food real quick. I'm going to grab some food and then I'll be, I'm going to go grab some food after I make this bread and then we'll be right back and I'll try to show you their hearts. We'll just throw them this stuff and see, but I don't think so. Gonna throw them some bread. I don't know if bread increases the chances of them wanting to make it a baby, but I know a lot of people use bread. I just think it's really expensive when I could just use raw potatoes instead. Oops, I threw it at the bed. Yeah, I'm gonna go get some food. I'm just gonna harvest some of my crops that I have here, and then I'll be right back. It's gonna take a few minutes. Okay, I'm back. I got several stacks of potatoes, and let's see if we can't get them to make a small villager baby. So let's see here. Potatoes. Oh, I can't quite throw them that far. Let's go stand on the bed real quick. Oh, we got hearts. We got hearts from both of them, I think. Yeah, we got hearts from both of them. So in a minute, we should see a little tiny villager pop out. Oh, why are they mad? They have enough food, I'm pretty dang sure. So why would they be upset? Hearts. More hearts. More hearts. Why no babies? What's going on here? I want to close that up so if there is a baby, then the baby doesn't get out. But why are we not getting a small little villager? I'm confused. Just keep chucking food at them because usually it happens by now. Usually it doesn't take this long. I'm just getting a little frustration things from them. That's not great. They're still picking up all the potatoes, so maybe they just don't have enough potatoes. Hearts, hearts, good, perfect. No baby. What's going on here? Okay. So, I guess, does the baby need to be able to reach a bed? Yes, I have an extra bed. Does the baby need to be able to reach a bed as if it was a full-size adult? You know what? We're going to try something real quick. We're going to just put a little wall here. I'm going to jump up here and then get rid of this wall here and make it so that an adult can reach the bed over there. So let's get rid of all this. Now we got hearts and hearts again. And I mean, they can pathfind to the bed. Both of them can. Now that there's nothing in the way. Ah, there we are. A baby. Good. Perfect. And now we're going to drop the baby through the floor. Hopefully. So there he is. And there he goes. Perfect. So that's how the system's going to work. They're going to keep making the babies now that I know that they need to be able to access a bed. And then we're going to go underneath and we're going to transport those villagers to our system. Okay. As you can see here, I've built up a little bit of a track. This guy's almost in the way, but he's not quite. And it leads up into this little hole here where we're going to store our villager in his little cell. As you can see, I've dug a little hole down underneath even where they are being held, and the track runs under there. And I'm going to try to get our precious mending villager up there into his little space. Let me break this real quick. There we go. And lay down some more track. Place down my minecart. And off he goes. Great. And he didn't even get injured going through that block. That's amazing. Okay. Now I'm going to go up to the top there. Oh, wait. He fell. Okay. Got to go a little faster, apparently. Let's push him back up to the top and try to jump out. Oh, okay. Okay. Apparently not only are villagers hard to deal with, but so are minecarts. So this should be fun. Where are you going? Go. Go, 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 go. Go. Go, it's getting dark. Go. Oh, now you're stuck. Okay. It won't let me push it anymore. So let's go out to the top here. And I'm going to go sleep because I really don't want his face eaten by a zombie. He's very valuable. While I was building up our little minecart track over there, this guy got loose and has been running around the village. Apparently he thought my bed was his bed. So I had to kick him out. Thank goodness there's an iron golem there. So even if something did spawn, hopefully he would hit it. But let's go. Oh, good. Perfect. I was able to move him out of the way. And we're just going to bump him up his little hill. into a spot. It said I was able to just kind of break the minecart and then he'll fall right in. Okay. Oh, he jumped out and then I hit him and then he fell and he got hurt. So, dang. Our trades are going to suck for a little bit until I can, zombify him and get his trades down. But let's give him his little workstation. Dun, da, da, da. Our first villager is where he belongs. And I'm going to go ahead and break down this little section here. And we're going to trap him so that he can't get out. Let's see. I need planks. And there he is. He's trapped forever. Forever and ever. He's never getting out and nothing's ever going to get him. And now we can go in there and we can look at his trades. Perfect. Love it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and load up the rest of this little area here. And while I'm doing that, we can finish up our speaking topic. And then we'll talk about what I want from these villagers first and foremost. The next thing I got to do is obviously build up the next tract and set up the wall so that the villager falls in. And from here on out, I'll go ahead and speed this up or cut it out. I haven't really decided. And go from there. Okay, perfect. So back on the topic of creativity and artistic ability and how people take advantage of it, I think the best thing that can avoid that is you can do what I do when I'm at work and just never mention the fact that you have any artistic ability. That's obviously not going to help you with your friends and family, close family, but it does help with the random people out there who want you to make things for them or do things for them. But as far as family goes, I think it's important to set up certain boundaries. If you really like doing art and you don't mind when people ask you for art, if that makes you feel good, that's great. But if you find it tedious to do artwork for other people and it's just something that you yourself want to enjoy, then I think you need to tell people that. Just straight up. I really don't like doing art for other people. Either I don't think it's good enough or I just don't like investing time in doing things that I'm not interested in. I think that would clear that up pretty well. There are still going to be people that just don't care about that and they're going to continuously ask you for art and they're going to be offended that you don't give it to them. And that's a problem on their end. 100% guaranteed problem on their end. The last thing I want to kind of go over is how can the world change to make it a little bit easier for people whose minds work a little bit differently. And now I don't have any experience talking about any type of learning disabilities or mental disorders or anything like that. Those are things that are way beyond the scope of this here YouTube show. But as far as people who just think a little differently because they're creative or because their minds work in a slightly different manner, like mine with math, I feel, or, how some people are able to take an image and completely modify it and make it their own. Those type of people, they have a place in the world too, but it's not always necessarily one where they can make money or contribute to society. And that's where I have a problem with the definition of creative being that it's only if it's useful. Because I think there's a ton of creative people out there that we just haven't found a use for their creativity yet. And that doesn't make them any less creative. It doesn't make the works that they do any less important to them or to society. It just means that we haven't figured out a way to use it yet. And that sounds extremely exploitive. I know. We don't necessarily need to find a way to use their abilities. Their abilities have merit on their own. I get that. But maybe if we were, as a society, more willing to work with people with different, learning abilities and different learning strategies and different ways of thinking, then we would have a way of finding uses for a lot more talents that exist out there. And I think that would be much more beneficial to humans as a society and as a group than just saying, well, that person's different or, they're just a little bit too artistic, or they're just a little bit too abstract, or blah, 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 blah. Whatever excuse you want to give, I just don't think that we allow enough space for, expression and for different ways of doing things. And if we did, that we would benefit from it greatly as a society. So that basically wraps up our little topic of discussion for today. Hopefully, this has opened up an area of your mind that you didn't really think about. If you are an artistic or creative person, maybe this will give you a way of talking with those relatives or those friends that you don't necessarily want to make art and or creative things for, or do works for them unsolicited, and things like that. And if you're not a creative person and you feel like you might have been being a burden on a creative person, or you may have dismissed a creative or artistic person, I hope that this, opens up your eyes to not everything that an artistic person does, even if they enjoy doing art, is available to you unless they want it to be. And yeah, that's basically it. The rest of this video is going to be me getting my first Silk Touch book and talking about the rest of the project. So this villager right here is going to be the one that I'm going to try to turn into a Silk Touch librarian. So we're going to place down a lectern and multi-shot. That's not really the book we want. So basically in Minecraft, what you do is whatever you want to trade for that you want to get, you just keep removing their workstation over and over and over again until you get what you want. So I'm going to keep placing down this workstation, and every time I do, he's going to turn into a librarian, and then he's going to not be a librarian when I take it away, and back and forth until I get what I want. And like this time, he gave me Fortune 1. Fortune isn't necessarily a bad enchantment. I do want a librarian that has Fortune. I'd like it to be a little bit better Fortune than Fortune 1. But it's not necessarily bad one. It's just not the one I'm looking for right now. So I'm going to continue doing this until I get the book I want, or until I give up. Either way, I'm just gonna keep doing this for a while. It's not very entertaining, so I'll be back in just a minute. So we just woke up. We're gonna go take a look at our villager and continue switching out his lectern. Here he is. Okay, well, never mind. We have what we want. So now we're gonna have to go trade with him real quick. So another way of getting the villagers to change their trades is if you go to bed at night, when they wake up the next morning, they open up, they'll have a new trade. So we're going to trade for a Silk Touch book. Heck, we're going to go ahead and trade for 2 Silk Touch books. And that locks in his trade. So that villager will always sell us Silk Touch books from now on, which is great because I need a Silk Touch pickaxe. Yes, perfect. For you guys, that probably took a few seconds, milliseconds, not even. But for me, these Silk Touch books right here, this Silk Touch book, that took me close to an hour of just switching that guy's lectern out. And he's actually the second librarian that I use. That other guy right beside him is the one that I was working on when you last saw me. But yeah, I got it. I'm super happy. Anyways, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.